Hello and welcome to another episode of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of. I'm writer, director, producer Paige Feldman, and this week, as every week, I'm taking you inside my process of making my debut feature film. We're going from idea to premiere in real time. So this week, I thought I'd sit with y'all and give you a no-frills update on where I am in the process of writing this script and making this film, essentially. And this is kind of a tough one for me because I have been slacking a lot. I'll get into the why of it because I do have some good reasons, but I mean, at a certain point, a reason is just an excuse justified. And also tell you the magic fix, and it's not really magic at all, just mindset shift that I found to get myself back at the computer cranking out a ton of pages. But first, let's roll those titles. So let's start with the excuses. The biggest one is that for the past 10 months, I have been planning a wedding, and I got married a week ago Saturday. And as much fun and as amazing as the wedding was, now that it's over, it's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. There's just so much that goes into wedding planning, so much stress, and it's not about details, it's about having to answer emails for, 10, 12 different vendors, having to balance family expectations, do a bunch of little things surrounding planning an event that aren't usually a big deal, but when they come with all of this weight, not just about the marriage, but about, people coming in from out of town, balancing etiquette, families, again, family expectations, family stuff, it's a lot. And now that it's over, things are just kind of feeling like they're back to normal. And I can take a deep breath, and I'm sleeping through the night, not waking up in the wee hours of the morning, being so excited about the event that I can't fall back asleep, and simultaneously so nauseous about all the things I still have to do that, again, I can't go back to sleep. It's just calm. And of course, I've been exhausted in the wake of all of this because I'm finally letting myself relax. And so last week I took some time off of writing. But like I said, it wasn't just last week that I took time off. It's been probably 6 weeks since I've really done any consistent writing on this script. And this is really hard to admit because I want to, I'm the student that always got the A's. I want to be a good student, I want to show that I'm making progress. I don't want to be slacking, but I've been slacking. It's not that I haven't done any work on anything. I've prioritized other things. Like I've edited How to Fall in Love the Hard Way, my audio series, edited episodes, because some of it's getting released in October. I made 175 cookies for my wedding as party favors because they're the world's best oatmeal raisin cookies, and that's something that I wanted to do for that. All of these other things came before the script for this movie. And I could have finished this script 3 times over in those 6 weeks if I had chosen to. But I didn't. And that's tough. And I knew, and I was looking forward to getting back in the saddle on this and really just cranking it out, getting it finished, getting a draft done. Because as much as I wanted to have a draft done before the wedding, I feel like I need to have a draft done before the honeymoon, because that's 2 weeks built-in off time. So when I get back, I can just be like, yeah, let's roll. Let's get on this rewrite. Let's get working on the proof of concept stuff. I'll be ready to roll. So last week I was excited to get started again, but there's something about having taken a bunch of time off of a project that just makes it more difficult to start back up again. And so last week I was really just not doing much of anything besides going to work, my day job, cleaning some, and just kind of trying to relax and come down from all of the work we did for the wedding, all the excitement, the exhaustion from the planning, and also from partying and having so much fun with all of our friends and family. But as I was gearing up, because I knew this past weekend I was going to have to get started again, and what better time to start than the weekend when I don't have any other obligations, I started doubting myself. I started thinking about this script and thinking, oh gosh, why did I make Mitch my main character? Why did I make her a singer-songwriter? Because I want to cast a Jewish up-and-coming singer-songwriter, a woman, in this role. And I want Alana Haim before she was Alana Haim. And how do I find that person? How do I build a relationship with them so that we can, write a song together for the film, or she can write a song specifically for the film? This just seems so tough. I'm just making this too tough on myself. And then my main male character, he's a content creator. I don't know if I like that. Is that a good choice? Is that the right choice? What if he was like a doctor or a lawyer? And then, do they even have enough conflict between them? Because I know I want to make sort of like this mumblecore thing with all the dialogue, and it's good, but like, is that going to be interesting enough? What if it's not interesting enough? And what if the theme of ritual and remembering the past, what if that's not going to come through? Do I need a new theme? And, just on and on and on. And I almost decided to just outline again, to like really dig into the outline and figure out where my problems were and try to fix them that way. And that's when I realized that I was trying to rewrite before I'd finished the script. I don't know if it's as a method of procrastination or if it was just like the typical middle of the draft doubts manifesting, but either way, I was about ready to rewrite things I'd already written when I don't know how the script is going to end. And when I say that, I don't mean that I don't know how the script's going to end, because I do have an outline and it's thorough and I know what the ending's going to be, but I don't know those details of how it comes into place. I just know the what and the who, but not those special things that happen during the draft that make the characters sing, that bring them to life, that add the character to the script, that add the tone to the film itself. And that's a difficult distinction to describe, because so much of the outline is, how are we getting from point A to point B? It's not just the points themselves, but the methods. To that, I'm gonna give an example. So Bridget Jones's Diary, if you're not familiar with it, you should watch it. It's a really fun romantic comedy. It is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. You might not know that because it does a pretty good job of disguising it and creating a super modern story that doesn't feel like it's just going paint by numbers from an old, though classic, romance. In Bridget Jones's Diary, because it's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, there's a cat, it has certain beats that it hits. So when you start Bridget Jones's Diary, if you know that it's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, you know at the end that Bridget, who is the Elizabeth cipher, is going to end up with Mr. Darcy. So you know who she's going to end up with and how it's going to end. They're going to end up together. And you might even know that they're going to end up together outside in the street in the snow. But what you might not know, and I'm extrapolating here because maybe this was all very well planned out in the outline by the writer, but what you may not know in this hypothetical where you are writing Bridget Jones's Diary as it exists, that Bridget is going to run outside without her pants on because she is so excited to tell this man she loves him. And that bit of character, that humor, that's what makes that scene memorable and fun beyond just the general, oh, I love you. It's what makes it feel clever and real in some way because it's different. It's not a paint by numbers situation. And that's what I love about writing it with an outline, because there's always these moments where, let's say there's a conversation that needs to be had about a family heirloom because it's important later in the script, and I have that conversation put in the outline. But when I get there, the characters start talking and suddenly this conversation about the heirloom is about the heirloom, but it also has undercurrents of issues of respect and heritage and all of these thematic elements that I didn't necessarily think were going to go into this conversation, but I find them and I discover them. And the outline is just fantastic for me because it gives me a sandbox to play in and parameters to play with, and then the freedom to explore as long as I hit those points. So let's take this out of the sandbox and go to like a food metaphor. So let's say that an outline is your recipe. And at the start, you have all of the elements, you combine them as the recipe tells you. By the end, you're tasting the flavors of all of these things combined. And while you can taste every individual element, somehow they've combined to something more than the sum of their parts. That's in a good recipe. And when I cook, I also like doing a little improv to make sure that it tastes exactly how I want it to taste, not just how something has told me it's going to taste. And that's kind of how I use my outline. I follow the steps and then I improvise to add a little bit more flavor and color and excitement. And I keep tasting and keep discovering new things about the dish that I'm making and serving and about the ingredients that I'm using. And so I love writing with an outline because it gives me room to explore all of these flavors and let them manifest and develop until they become something more than I would have thought based on how the recipe reads in the beginning. With this recipe metaphor, that's why I write from start to finish before I rewrite. That's why I go from the beginning to the end. It's not necessarily that I'm never going to finish if I don't, because it'll take me longer if I keep reading through everything I've written before I start again. But it's because I need to know what the end product's going to taste like so I can alter the beginning so that it suits what I find out at the end and find out throughout the process of writing about all my characters. When I need to add that half a lemon, or the juice of one, or sugar, or a little spice. We can go all different kinds of flavors. But the point is that in order for me to fix all of the problems that I have pinpointed, and they are still problems. I wasn't just making things up because I was afraid of continuing to write. I was noticing things that are probably legitimately things I will need to address in the rewrite, but I don't know how to address them until I know where my characters end up, because as with cooking, the final version of the dish is going to be much more well developed than the set of ingredients that you put on your counter before you start combining them and start making them into something that you want to eat. So basically, the only way out of this mess is to keep writing. So that's what I did. And in the past 3 days, I've written 35 pages from page 63, and now I'm on page 99, and 3 full sequences. I have 3 sequences left to go, so about 35 pages. And obviously, if you can do the math, you can tell that this draft will also be over 120 pages. However, it's gonna be probably a more modest 125 to 140. As opposed to that 268 behemoth of the first draft of Kaleidoscope. But however long it's going to be, I'm gonna pledge to you here and now that next week, you're going to be watching a video of me celebrating the end of writing this first draft of this contained romantic comedy feature. I promise you it's going to happen. I am on track, and the thing is that despite all the problems I'm having and the things that I know I'm gonna need to fix and rewrite, the more that I write, the more I push through, the easier it becomes. So I will finish this draft before next week and tell you all about the final process of finishing it and how it feels to have the first draft of the film that's actually going to be my debut feature complete. So that being said, there's only one thing left for me to do. It's say thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with more of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of. Because right now I have to go back upstairs to my office, fingers to my keys, and get those pages written, because they're not gonna write themselves, but even if they could, I wouldn't want them to, because, guys, I really like writing. Despite all of the slacking I've been doing. I love it. All right, thanks y'all for watching. See you next week.